Feedback that doesn't land may be worse than no feedback at all. And I know that you're investing a lot of energy and time in creating feedback for your employees because that's what managers do. But if yours isn't working, it's an issue. And that's what we're going to take a look at in this video today. By the end of this video, you're going to know more about feedback than you thought possible. And you'll have a good idea of how to take a look at the way you're delivering feedback to see if you're on track to deliver credible, landable feedback. Hi, I'm Gary, and we're going to go under the hood at feedback. What it is, what it isn't, and how to deliver it, and what you might be doing right, and what you might be doing not quite so right, so that you can get better at delivering good feedback. We'll start with 3 questions in this video. What is feedback? I mean, really, what does that word really mean? And then what are the elements of good feedback? And then what are some things you might be doing that are getting in your own way? You're shooting yourself in the foot in terms of delivering good feedback. You know, it's been said that we can deliver a message around the world in a quarter of a second. And yet to get it to go through 1/4 inch of human skull can take forever. Good feedback is that stuff that can get through that 1/4 inch of human skull and actually land inside. So, without further ado, let's take a look at it. What is feedback? The word feedback comes from an engineering term that began to become popular with engineers, electrical engineers in particular, back in the 1920s. It goes back that far. Had to do something with their circuit building and connecting loops of information. I don't know. It had something to do with electrical engineering. I'm not one, so I can't explain that. But the term became popular in organizations in around the 1950s or 60s, gradually replacing the word criticism. We used to talk to employees and say, I need to offer you some criticism. And when we got a lot of resistance to that, we buttered it up a little bit and we started to call it constructive criticism. Now, can you remember a time when someone came up to you and said, I would like to offer you some constructive criticism? And you said, yay, I'm all for it. Let's go. I want to do it now. The odds are you didn't have that experience at all. You went, oh no, here it comes. What did I do wrong? So after a while, people decided we needed a new term for the exchange of information from a manager to the employee that wasn't so loaded negatively. And we came up somehow with the word feedback. It was intended to be a neutral word. Feedback means praise. Feedback does mean criticism. Feedback can mean coaching. Feedback can mean review of performance. Feedback can mean observations. It can mean any one of those things. It can mean all of those things. It's a generic term to mean I want to give some information about what I've seen you doing to you in order to help you perform at your best. That's it. It's still got a lot of negative weight to it, and people still cringe when people say, can I offer you some feedback? Because it sounds like you're sitting in judgment of me and you're going to tell me something about myself that I'm not going to want to hear. Truly intended to be information that I'm exchanging with you so that you can do the best that you can do. So, good feedback, turns out, has about 5 critical elements that need to be included in it. The first of which is timing. You want to deliver feedback as close to the time that it happened as you can. Telling someone they did a great job on their presentation last month is useless. It's almost totally useless. Telling them they did a great job on their presentation today is useful because they don't have to wade through a month's worth of memories to get back to that presentation and say, what did I do? What happened? Oh, okay, well, thanks. No, they have it right there at their fingertips and they can respond to it. So time your feedback as close as you can to the time that it actually occurred. The second element of good feedback is being specific. You don't want to be general. It's not wrong to say, that was a great job you did at the meeting today, but it really doesn't tell them anything. They'd have to sort through everything they did at that meeting to decide what was good or not so good about it. Far better to say something like, when we were stuck on that deliveries problem we were working on, and you piggybacked on what Devin had to say and turned the group completely in a different direction, and we then found our solution. That was great. That was right on. Thanks for doing that. So you see, that was really specific. It was timed well, and it was really specific feedback. The third element of good feedback is it's not your job to interpret the meaning of the behavior. It's simply your job to reflect on that behavior and share with people what you've observed, not what it means. So, feedback that goes along the lines of, You've been late for the last couple of staff meetings, so I guess you just don't care as much as you did before, is not good feedback. You're interpreting that behavior. You don't know yet why that person might have been late a couple of times in a row. They may have a really good reason and you're not aware of it. So that feedback isn't going to land well. It's going to land with defensiveness. It's going to create defensiveness. I've noticed you've been late for the last couple of staff meetings. That's specific feedback, and that's something you can have a dialogue about afterwards. Number 4 would be, when you're giving feedback, try to stick to one thing at a time. Unless you're doing an annual performance review, you needn't talk about everything that's going on, just what you just observed, one thing at a time. It can be more easily absorbed if I'm talking to you, or if you're talking to me, about one thing that you just observed. I can then react to that, respond to that, think about it, change it, whatever. But it's not a whole bunch of stuff. It's one thing at a time. And lastly, the 5th element of good feedback is sharing the impact of that behavior. Not interpreting it, but sharing the impact. So, Jim, you were late for the last couple of staff meetings, and what happens when you do that is we don't get started on time and we kind of wait for you and we waste a lot of time. That's the impact of the behavior being shared with the person. It's not interpreting. We don't know about his attitude or his beliefs or why he's doing it. We just know that he does it, and this is what happens when he does it. So if you use feedback with all 5 of those elements, it's bound to be powerful. It's bound to land. But there are at least 2 other reasons why you may have some trouble delivering feedback. And the first is what I call the good news, bad news ratio. Did you know that in most organizations, most people, the typical employee, is given 16 pieces of bad news for every 1 piece of good news? For every 1 attaboy, thanks, great job, good work, for every 1 of those, they get 16 where they weren't doing so great. You have a typo, you were late, I wish you would smile more, etc., etc., etc. 16 times a day for every time they get a moment of praise, a moment of positive affirmation. And so when they're in an environment like that, they shut down listening to feedback. They just don't want to hear it. They actually would prefer you say nothing at all. They'll say something to the effect of, no news is better than bad news. And they're right. They're serious and they're right. No news is better than a constant stream of oops, 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 you didn't do that well. So look at your ratio of good news to bad news. And if it's not a good ratio, if you're doing more correcting than praising, change it. Make it a conscious habit on your part to catch people doing things right and let them know the moment you see it. Every day, try to find something with every one of your employees that you could say something positive about and change that ratio. And if you do that, they're bound to start listening a little more and taking in your feedback. And the last thing I want to talk about feedback is this. Feedback is not a one-way conversation. It's not just about you sharing information with them and then you both go on your merry way. No. Feedback, good feedback, is a dialogue. So you share the information and you invite them to respond and talk about it. So I noticed you've been late for the last couple of staff meetings. What that means is we've all kind of had to wait each time to get started because you were late. Help me understand what's going on here. That phrase, help me understand, invites them to say something to you, and then you can start a dialogue back and forth. You might learn some really good reasons why they've been late for the last couple of staff meetings that you had no idea about until you brought it up and until you invited them to tell you. So make your feedback a 2-way dialogue, a conversation, not just a monologue of you sharing your information from up on high on what they could do differently. Okay, so that's been a deep dive into what's going on under the hood with regard to feedback. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.